this just, it's right there at the top, threatening to be one of my #1 favorite couples camping fifth wheels. Welcome everybody, Josh the RV Nerd from Bish's RV, down here at the Alliance Annual Rally today in the Elkhart County Fairgrounds, checking out what's new for the 26s. Now, this model hasn't changed dramatically from last year, and that is a good thing because they have basically nailed it on this. There's a couple little nitpicks that maybe somebody would have, but considering the size of this RV, nicely under 30 foot, if you got like a 3/4 ton gasser, oh, chef's kiss. Just amazing pairing for something like this. If you just want to fly around, bounce around, to pretty much anywhere you want, easy going, easy towing. Like me, this RV is a little bit of a wide body. It's 8 foot 5 inches wide, and that's the thing. Anybody else that makes this floor plan basically is 8 foot wide. They're one of the only wide body builders of this, and it adds so much comfort, space, storage to the RV that nobody else can match. Of course, auto leveling, Goodyear tires, more ride suspension package to give you that, comfort ride. 0 to 100 degree rated. We've got the 3,000 pound towing hitch on the back, the dual Asdel walls going on, and I've heard some rumor that they may actually be making a revision to the bedroom that isn't even present yet here today. So I need some of your feedback on that to know if they're going the right direction with it or not. And if you appreciate how we get down here and help your feedback get to the manufacturer to improve the product every year, hit that subscribe button and keep that feedback coming so we can keep it improving. And overall, you're going to hear me be very positive on this camper. This is one that I personally really, really like. This falls flat into that nerd preferred category. But like any RV, it's got a couple things that I don't necessarily consider perfect. And I kind of prefer just to lead with this stuff, because if this is a big deal for you, let's find you another RV, no big deal. But you notice that my vest is hanging on the banister over here, because there's not a place to hang a jacket in this thing. And these cushions, the backs of these cushions, there is nothing holding them on there. Whenever we have these things on display, we are constantly resetting the cushions on this. Alliance, please, just even Velcro and a couple staples. Like, even if you do it the cheap way, it's better than nothing. But the thing is, I can solve for those things. So I can deal with that. What else does this RV have to offer? And the answer, so much. The answer is so much. One of the biggest things is there are other builders out there with this same floor plan, or something just a super close approximation to it. Cougar came out with this layout, and now everybody's like, that's great. I want to build that too, which is fine. But Alliance is one of the only ones doing it wide body. And the extra 5 inches of width, this is 101 inches, which if you're not, doing the math on that, it's 8 foot 5 instead of 8 foot. It adds up. You can feel the difference 5 inches makes, basically. The couple of key things Alliance is always really good at doing too. They are very good at paying attention, for the most part, to what consumers are looking for. And having that being a cuddle compliant or population controlling theater seat with that flip up armrest in there with the power outlets is really handy. And you see, you've also got extra power outlets right beside you over there. So if both of you are sitting there fiddle-faddling with your phone or something like that, you can. Now, my understanding is under that refrigerator is nothing. I greatly dislike that they paneled that off, but I'm not going to lie. I would probably just boot kick that sucker open and use the space somehow myself. I personally like the look when the slide floor and the main floor match, but the type of flooring they're using on the main floor, when used in a slide out, sometimes causes a little bit of that little wobbly bacon effect on the end. Usually once the RV warms up a little bit, that tends to relax and go away. It was, until very recently, 40 degrees here locally and fairly chilly. Now, up top here, we've got that larger XL vent fan giving you some awesome, cooking ventilation. Although the microwave, if I'm not mistaken, also is a stovetop exhaust vent hood. So that big residential size microwave is kind of a 2-in-1. And they have solid surface counters here. Now, the thing is, there's a little bit of a level change there. The way that's been explained to me is due to supplier issues. They basically don't have a supplier that can get them one level chunk of solid surface. And over in this section, they also have an outdoor camp kitchen It's been mentioned to me that there could be some fire code things in relation to that. I don't know the truth of that. That's just someone was thinking that. Anyway, one of the things I always like to hunt for are kitchen power outlets. Looks like we do have a couple under the overhead cabinets over there. Not necessarily my favorite location for them, but because we do have that little bump up on the countertop, it's also not so high that I think it's problematic by any stretch of the imagination. It's funny, I was sitting down a second ago. I should have just stayed there because straight across from us, we have a flippin' jumbotron of a smart TV, but I'm standing up. I want to put you in the driver's seat. Let me sit down. This is, the camera is basically at my head level. So we're looking up a little bit. It's not the end of the world to me, but I do wish manufacturers would start, like, it amazes me that no one has really tried to do a lot of drop down TVs. That just kind of shocks me. I don't know. I really appreciate this no knee knocker dining solution that we have down here. That is it's what's called a dream dinette. It's actually gas strutted, so it's kind of easy up, easy down. You don't have separate pedestals to fight with. I that for me right there, I love that. As a big long-legged clumsy guy, I love that. Notice the power outlets down in that little location as well. In case you're curious about these buckle straps, while you're traveling, it's recommended that you have the table in the down position, but if you hit a wicked chuck hole, it theoretically could try to pop up and then flip-flop around, and that table can basically keep it strapped down. What I almost said was it could try to flop around like a Magikarp, but for those of you who are not Pokemon initiated, I realize that would probably not be the best illustration to utilize, so I think I just said flip-flop around. There have been some folks who said, man, I love this, but I wish they could put a fireplace in. I've seen another brand try to put a fireplace over here, but that's where Alliance has their electrical center. So I just don't think that they really have a good spot for a fireplace in this model, which makes me kind of ask the question. Now that I've said that, we just got done looking at the dinette. What would you think of the idea of having something like a dining bar fireplace wombo combo instead of a dinette? Would that be something that you could find interesting? And again, if you want to get that armrest out of the way, you totally can. You've got the blackout roller shade slow rise kind of windows there, and you might have noticed every window except the door, or the door in the window. Yep, okay. The window in the door does open for airflow. The pantry over there does have adjustable and removable shelving, so you can kind of customize that to your little heart's desire. And this down here is kind of what I was talking about, where you have your power center, basically your fuses and breakers and all that. They're in a location that just sort of generally prevents the possibility of a traditional RV electric space heating fireplace. Although there are some taller vertical ones, I wonder if what if there was a small vertical one right there? Would that work for you? I don't know. Leave me a note. Let me know. Never hurts to ask and to try to find out, right? This I don't know that you necessarily need it to pivot in this floor plan, but it does have a crazy pivot TV. I think the one way that could be somewhat beneficial is if you're trying to get to the back of it to like plug something in, it gives you the opportunity to do that. This is a small sleeper. It's not a giant sleeper. I think it's like 5.5 or 6 foot long or something like that. I don't even know if it's 6 foot because I'm about 6 foot myself. That looks a little small for me. These drawers are great. Full extension plywood box, very thick and reinforced actually for heavier weights, but they're at a very tricky location for me to try to record them. Similarly, I have to give you a little bit of a break in the action to capture all the overhead cabinet spaces. One thing I want to point out though is to get to that back corner, to get to all the storage, you have to kind of reach around, and it is pretty tall. I'm tall. I've got long arms. That's hard to reach back there. So you might consider getting some kind of little wicker basket or something that you can grab a hold of easier to sort of like pull the storage to you. I also really appreciate though the anti-gravity door above the big residential size microwave. That's not convection, by the way. It's just a big microwave. And a space bottom left of the sink for a ginormous wastebasket. That is one of those things that like I am always looking for in RVs, and people go, what is your obsession with this? Because every single time I go camping, I need to put something in a trash can. So having that solution, dialed in already from the factory is kind of a nice thing. Now, a lot of folks have asked me to spend more time looking at plumbing fittings. I often forget, but I do want to point this out right here. We'll probably take another look at it in the pass-through compartment. Anything that's not PEX is a purpose-built hose, so if it has to flex like to get up to the faucets and stuff, it's something made specifically to do that. And you do have individual water shutoff valves for everything. So let's say your cold water line to this sink develops a leak. You can still shower. You can still use the hot water. You can still use your toilet. You don't have to cripple the entire camper. You can work around it till you get to a service center. And something I would like to suggest to you to keep you out of the service center is on your slide retract button, put a little note that says check pantry. Because if this pantry door isn't completely closed and it gets open and that handle catches behind that slide fascia, if this slide is opening, it's just going to bust something. That slide will probably rip the door handle apart, which is fixable, but it also might scar some stuff up. So just a little suggestion here. Window in the door is shade prepped, not shade included. And we do have a little flip-flop shop right there built into the steps on the way upstairs. Once again, the handrail acting as your coat rack, he says facetiously. Now, upstairs in the bedroom or bathroom, you do have a max air fan. It's a different variety, though. This actually has its own built-on rain vent cover, which is kind of nice. It's a smaller fan. It's a smaller room. It'll, generally speaking, do the job that it needs to do. They do, because they are a little bit wider body, they are able to put on a full true pocket privacy door here instead of just having this door be the interior bathroom slider panel and still give us awesome space around that porcelain foot flush toilet, as you can see. And every time I see signs like this, is please don't use the toilet. I always think to myself, for every sign, there's a story behind it. And that sounds like a crappy one. Moving on. Headroom in the shower, pretty solid. I did not have issues with that. Working our way around, though, there's some pretty decent storage in this bathroom. It's difficult for me to showcase it here on cameras all in one shot. So please take a look on the left side of the screen. You can see how you do have a full medicine cabinet. You've got dedicated linen space right here. And what's nice, some builders will make a bathroom like this where your linen space in the bathroom is shared with your bedroom closet. And that's not the case here. Everything is totally separate. Solid drawer capacity. Big space for a wastebasket under the sink in the bathroom. I have very few notes to offer in this bathroom. I think that overall they just pretty much nailed it. Now, up here in the bedroom, I need your opinion on something. This is a 60 by 80 true queen. And because this is a 5-inch wider wide body camper, there's lots of room to walk around it. Here's an idea that I have, and I'd love to, like, maybe we should send this feedback to them at the factory. Very common request on something like this is a king bed, but there's a problem with that. RV king beds aren't really king beds. To try to find replacement mattresses, not impossible, harder. Limited options, and to try to find replacement sheets, very hard. So my idea is to go with an Olympic Queen, which is a 66-inch wide by 80-inch long bed. That is less known, but it is an actual residential size. So getting replacement mattresses, getting sheets, it's easy. And it gives you a little bit wider bed, but it won't be so wide that you can't walk around it. And because this is a wide body rig, you'll still have the walk around space, even though you have a wider mattress. For me, it just feels like the perfect in-betweener, but that's my 2 cents. And you might be the one buying this for far more than 2 cents. What's your opinion? What's your take? Now, up front here, this is not a bed slide nor a closet slide model, but they still accomplish a lot of the same things. I think they utilize the space around the bed for storage very effectively. I've got it half open, half closed here, so you can get a bit of an A and a B. You see that you've got household and USB side stand power outlets, but they make the top of that flip up because they realized that they just had a pocket of space that they didn't want to go to waste. On the sides, you've got little kind of socks and underwear drawers on either side. And you might notice, though, this is not hanging wardrobe space. They have that accomplished basically on the other side of the bedroom. We'll get there in just a second. But first of all, looking down below over here, very easy access storage capacity. But what I want to direct your attention to is how there's no ankle breaker step of death whatsoever. That's because, so a lot of people, they roll their eyes when they hear that each manufacturer has the chassis from Lippert made to their specs. And a lot of people just don't believe that anymore. This is a good example of that. It's a Lippert chassis, but it's not the same Lippert chassis that everybody else uses. This is called a Rhino box chassis. And it has a massive structural beam that goes across the front that you can't see right now. And that allows them to not have any of those annoying steps or breaks in the flooring in a bedroom space. It also seems to hold up structurally pretty well, but it's more expensive. And if you're sitting up in the bed, this is kind of what you're going to look at right here. If you choose to add a TV to it, you got the perfect spot for it. And then over on this side, I mentioned that it doesn't have a bedroom closet slide, but it kind of accomplishes the same thing. Take a look on the right side of your screen. This is a very tricky space for me to try to record on camera. I still don't know that I can give it its full justice, but you see that you have your closet space there and your drawers. That is also washer dryer prepped. The trick is, if you end up going with like a stackable model, you're going to pretty much eliminate all of the hanging storage of your RV, but that doesn't seem to affect a large number of people. One other thing I noticed, I don't know that I'm actually going, I said the phrase sit up on the bed. I don't know that if you're my size, you're going to do that. But well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna do the old sit-up crunch method, see if I end up crunching my noggin on this thing. Stand by. This is a very flattering angle for me, by the way. But anyway, if I engage the core muscles and sit up, oh God, I thought I was gonna hit that. It's close. Like I could see somebody maybe bumping it unintentionally. Probably not too much of a major issue, but it's the kind of thing that I look for. Hope you appreciate the extra little willing to put my body on the line and do my own stunts. Thankfully today, I didn't end up, like, you see all this? This is from me doing my own stunts and mosquitoes. Now, one last extra bit of info I like to give you is what I call road mode, with the slide closed. Overall, this floor plan is pretty darn great. It's not necessarily 100%, but I think it's about 98. One of the things here is the bedroom and bathroom in the upper deck, no question, you can use those. The sofa you can't use because it's a rack and pinion slide, but you don't need to worry about it because the dinette's not in a slide, so your dining is available. Now, when we get back here, we can get to the refrigerator, but unless you add some sort of level of inversion to the RV, you're not going to be able to use the microwave. The microwave door also opens at an awkward swings tortoise angle. That'd be hard to use anyway. So the microwave is basically lost. The oven, lost. The stovetop, I'm not going to count this as accessible. Could I technically probably get to it if my life depended on it? Yes. But if you plan ahead for a quick travel stop, if you're just going to make like a little Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper, you're going to be fine. You know, if you want to be able to cook a 3-course meal in road mode, you're going to have to open the slide out. So hope you appreciate the distinction there. Now, I want to offer a cautionary tale. And I think that this is almost a really good way to interview dealerships, because I personally feel that you're buying the dealership almost as much, if not more so, than buying the RV itself. Ask them if they would consider this half-ton towable. And if they just blankly go, yes, get away from them. They will sacrifice your safety to make their own quick sale. But if they say, well, tell me about your truck. Tell me where you're going to tow it. Maybe give them the light of day. And if they go, probably not, first and foremost, that's probably a sign of a really decent person trying to do the right job by you. Because the thing is, despite the small size of this, you will typically run out of payload rating before you run out of tow capacity. And if you don't know the difference, please contact our team so we can make sure you're educated and safe on these things. But even small fifth wheels typically carry more hitch weight, especially once loaded with cargo, than even heavier half tons should consider handling. This, again, is an 8-foot 5-inch wide body. It's 5 inches wider than pretty much anybody else making this layout, and that makes a heck of a difference. And they've also given it a very kind, I think, ride and handling package. It begins right up here with the Kurt Rotoflex pin box, but it also has the MORryde shock dampening suspension package, and a couple more notes on that when we get back there. First of all, just kind of giving you a look through everything. Working our way up front here, the front end of this thing is pretty wide open. I've had some people ask me if you could put a generator in here. The factory definitely doesn't offer anything like that, but the size of it, it's right on the borderline where you might be able to aftermarket something. I don't know that for certain, however, so please keep that in mind. Working our way around here, it's not a drop frame storage compartment like you get on the big Paradigm stuff, but given the size of the RV, I think it's actually a pretty decent compartment. I'll get you up there a little closer in a minute. One of the only hiccups with this one is that due to the presence of that propane compartment door in the front and that camp kitchenette in the back, the awning did get shortchanged slightly. It's, I think, still manageable and serviceable. It's just not necessarily quite as large as it otherwise could be. Up here in the front, it's the stupid things that I love. The fusion lighting in the front here, that's that Tron lightsaber lighting. It goes all the way across. So no matter where you're at in the pass-through, with motion lights on both sides, you can see what you're doing. Each side of the RV also has some context-sensitive three-way switches. You see your TV hookups and stuff there, but you've also got a dedicated awning switch so that you can be over here on the awning side of the RV and open the awning without opening the door, letting out the air conditioning, or letting in the bugs. Similarly, on the opposite side of the RV, you also have a slide-out switch so that you can, like if you're too close to the park post or you don't want to hit a tree, you can be right back there and check that sucker right out, you know. The Goodyear Endurance radials here, something I want to talk about. A couple years ago, everybody and their brother jumped on this because import supplies were really limited, and a lot of people jumped on a more domestic Goodyear bandwagon. And now a lot of manufacturers have dropped off of that, and Alliance has continued to put some nice sneakers on this kid. But not just a MORryde suspension package. The CRE 3000, that means compression rubber equalization with 3 inches of wheel travel, by the way, to help you understand that, because there's also a 4000. But you see all that pink goo on those things? These have wet Zerk fasteners, basically greasable fittings, so that you can keep this stuff in good working order long term. 4-point electric auto leveling, factory standard on these as well. And then back here, you have what I am calling the Alliance Gridilio, where it's a combination griddle, grill, and this one has Dad's medicine cabinet back there. Now the thing is, on a fifth wheel like this, where it rides pretty high, this is basically going to be, the burners are essentially at my belly level. Somebody, it could maybe be a little closer to their chest or face, so keep that in mind a little bit. Thankfully, they give it a nice long extension right here so that if you are cooking, you can more safely reach around here to get to the Barley Poppinator 9000 back there, a very critical component in the scenario. On the way back here, you've got that 300-pound rated roof ladder. That's a cool thing that Alliance does. They take the burden on themselves to rate and do the testing and proof. To have stronger structures in that rear wall to hold more weight. And the square nature of that makes it very friendly to like folding up a towel to dry out. It's not quite as wide as some of the other Alliance ladders that they use here and there. I don't know why they use a little thinner one on this. Maybe it's so they don't obstruct that window. That's only a theory though. 3,000-pound tow hitch on the back. Your only real difference between a towing hitch and an accessory hitch, they have the same weight ratings, but this has the safety chain hooks and the 4-way wiring harness, and that makes it a towing hitch instead of just an accessory hitch. Both have a 300-pound vertical weight limit. You saw the little white outside sprayer port. What a lot of people don't realize is that actually is hot and cold, because up here on the opposite side in the front pass-through compartment that I inconveniently forgot to open, part of the RV Nerd inconvenience package, apparently, is the fact that this RV does have a hot-cold water mixer. But before we get there, I kind of forgot one thing. It's one of the few black eyes on this thing. If I get you right down low, you can see how just in front of the tire, you have your bathroom black and gray sewer outlet. And then just at the back bottom corner of the slide out, that is your kitchen gray tank outlet. This RV is a dual-headed sewer monster as a result. They were not able to cross-plumb stuff together. They tried. It just wasn't physically possible due to the location of the running gear. They couldn't run a pipe through an axle. That just physics says that doesn't work. That's also why when you look at the holding tank capacities on this RV, it looks borderline out of control. You're like, why so much gray water versus the others? Because it's actually two totally separate gray tanks. Through some movie magic, we suddenly have this baggage door open. You've seen a docking center. I don't think I need to spend a lot of time talking about that. This is something that Alliance kind of started, though, that a ton of brands have now since adopted. Easy access to all of this stuff. Now, plumbing, fittings, hoses have become a big topic in the RV industry, and someone's going to see this flex hose right here and flip a gasket. What you don't realize is that they are basically required to have a flex hose coming off the water pump. And you will notice, if you look more closely, that's the only flex hose, and they are using correct fittings on it. It's a purpose-made object. And if they tried to use a fixed, like PEX line on this, it would make such a rattling sound, it would jar your teeth out of your skull. Beyond that, though, everything is PEX on PEX. Everything has its own individual cutoff valve. They are doing above the minimum industry standard. And generally, I'm not going to tell you any RV manufacturer is ever perfect. Generally speaking, from what I've seen, Alliance isn't really known for, like, plumbing issues. I don't know, man. This one is, there's a small number of fifth wheels that are just really on top of my list, and this is one of them. The Cougar version of this, the original version of this, the Cougar 23 MLE, also very much up there. And that the Brinkley 2680. God, I love that thing. But those tend to be the ones that really get my goat. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. What I'm going to do is leave you a bunch of links in the description. First of all, if you want to see where we have one of these parked and the pricing on one of those, we'll have that link right in the description. No need to contact a salesperson to get figures on this thing. But short of that, if you want to see some of the other builders of a layout like this one or in a similar size, I'll also leave you some links to those so that you can check those out from the comfort of your couch or bed or toilet or office desk when you're supposed to be working on a Monday morning, because I can track my YouTube analytics and I know you're not working. Just don't let your boss find out. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.